Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of Let's Talk Retail, the podcast that dives deep into the dynamic world of retail and brings you insights from innovators, industry leaders, and thought leaders. I'm your host, Jitendranath Patri, and today we are honored to have a very special guest, a pioneer in the retail space with us, Mr. B S Nagesh. With a remarkable career spanning over nearly 4 decades, he has served as the managing director of Shoppers Stop for 18 years before founding TRRAIN, the Trust for Retailers and Retail Associates of India, where he continues to make a significant impact on the welfare of retail professionals. Today, we'll explore his journey, the evolution of retail from his perspective, and the mission behind TRAIN. So let's welcome Mr. B S Nagesh to the show. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, afternoon.
How do you spend your day?
I'm an early riser. I get up early. I do go for a walk between 6 to 8 kilometers in the morning, and then do a little bit of meditation, a little bit of stretching, and then back home, breakfast, and then either work from home or go to office. Office is trained for me, and that's where I spend 2 to 3 days in a week. I do go to Shopper Stop when they require. That is not more than half a day a week. Rest of the time I work from home. If anybody wants some help, if somebody wants to be a fly on the wall when they're meeting, I can do that. So multiple things, but mostly towards the social ventures. I am not an advisor or a board member or consultant or anything. At that
Nice.
stage I advance.
Yeah.
Let's have a lot of time to myself to do what I love. I travel a lot.
And travel is within India or is it also
outside? And so we love nature. So most of our
Mm.
time will be around nature. So that's the way we spend our time. I would say as of now, the calendar is totally in my country.
Fantastic?
Compared
Never
to
thought of teaching. I mean, of course, I know TRAIN, you must be doing something around teaching, but you never thought.
teaching, not as a formal. In the earlier years, when retail was not known, I started the retail course in Nursing Monji, IIT. And then when they call me, they want me to do a session, I do, but I'm not a teacher, lecturer, professor who does two courses a quarter and things like that.
Right. Right.
I am not wanting to be committed to things where I am bound. If I want to do something next week, I should not have my calendar saying you're supposed to teach in then and Sagar. I don't want to do this. Yes. I'm out of that.
And where's the TRAIN office in Bombay?
Malad.
Very close to the Shopper Stop.
So this is in the same building where Shopper Stop was for about 15 years in Eureka Tower. Now Shopper Stop has shifted nearby. It's about 350 meters, 400 meters from there.
So great. I've been going through your profile. Of course, who doesn't know you from the retail space? But I want to really go back and ask you to start off when you really started your career in retail, which was sometime in the 80s, late 80s or early 90s, when just retail was just about, organized retail was just about getting started and the seeds were just getting sown.
I passed out my management, did my master management studies from BHU, Varanasi, in the year 1982. And during the summers, during that time, we used to have a lot of these, what they used to call sign and die. A lot of people have not heard of this. You have some issues in the BHU campus and then close the campus. So the delayed session. So I got two opportunities to do summer trainings. One I did in Kirlos. Was nobody used to come to our institution. My uncle was the CEO at that time, so I went and did there. But I did one summer internship in Varanasi itself, where I studied the consumer buyer behavior of footwear in Varanasi. And I did this for Corona footwear because I was intrigued that everywhere there's a Bata, there's a Corona next. That was the first stint with the retail. And I would say my stint with retail is not through retail. It's not through the supply side. It's always through the demand side. So here also I look at the consumer. And through my journey, for me, my meeting starts with customer, ends with customer. Because at the end of the day, that's where everything else happens. So that was my first, I would say, touch of retail. Because during that process, I met customers, I met retailers, I met competitors of Corona and Bata and things like that. But after that, I did apply for job to Corona to say, hey, can you take me as the management trainee? I've done this summer training and the project report, and they were very appreciative of the project report. But then they said that no, don't take management trainings from such institutes. As luck says, after 10 years, they took me as the zone manager for South. And during one of the presentations, my president said, how is it that we came to us earlier? I said, well, I came to you 10 years back, but I was a young graduate and you didn't take. Life is like that.
Right.
So that's how I got introduced to consumers and retail. But I started my career in Glow Plus, the makers of VIP luggage in 82, as a sales officer looking after Karol Bagh and then Chandni Chowk. And every promotion in sales is you go from smaller territory to bigger to tougher territories. Eventually, I was looking after Chandni Chowk and Sadar Bazaar in Delhi. And there also, my approach to sales was I'll do the primary sales, but I will help the retailer do the secondary sales. And my commitment was if I had to sell one suitcase, you buy three suitcases from me. So that's the way I used to dump stocks to them. Fairly successful career, got promoted and moved to Hyderabad, short period of a year and a half as assistant branch manager for Andhra Pradesh. That time it was the combined Andhra Pradesh. And in a year's time, I realized that Andhra has huge potential. So recommended to the big bosses that you split Andhra into two branches, one out of Hyderabad and one out of Vijayawada. Give a coastal Andhra separate branch. And they said, you are so confident, you only go and open the branch. So I went to Vijayawada to open the branch. And if you've known Vijayawada, it's a 42 degrees, 45 degrees. We were just married in the 1 year old, married couple, young couple. And it really worked. The business of Andhra doubled. It became equivalent to the Hyderabad branch. Very successful stint. And from there, I moved over to Sony Austin back to Delhi, where again, I was selling television and I was selling electronics and things like that. I was there for 2.5 years. And then I came down to Corona for as a zonal manager retail. So they were setting up a new zone and they had an option for a zonal manager wholesale and zonal manager retail. I still don't know why, but I took the zonal manager retail position. And I was there for 3 years. My introduction to brick and mortar retail was through Corona. Because when I stepped out, I was running the whole South and East with about 128 stores. And these stores were some 500 square feet, 700 square feet. The biggest store was 1,500 square feet. This is where I decided that I need to look at something bigger. And like any dream, big is always in India by adding a few zeros. I was looking after stores with an average of 500 square feet. I said, anybody who opens a 50,000 square feet in this country, I'll pick up that shop. And it's just a stroke, chance, destiny, whatever. It so happened that the headhunter who was given the assignment to look for a general manager for the store happened to be my boss's friend. And she got to know about me. And my boss was aware that I always keep saying, and that's how I came to Mumbai for the first time, got interviewed, got selected. And after that, it's been probably one of the best moves of my career. So 32 years association with Shoppers Stop. Of course, last 10 years as non-executive, but that's the way I got into retail.
Super.
And that's how I got into big brick and mortar retail and came to Mumbai to set up Shoppers Stop.
I know Shoppers Stop. I don't surprising when you said 82, 83. I was just about finishing school. And in 91, 92, I just finished college and just about started work when we heard about Shoppers Stop.
And October 1991 is when we started with the one portion of the theater being converted into the shop. So the 2,800 square feet on the ground, which we did into a men's shop.
And then the Andheri was the
place. And it was the theater complex that they had. And the Rangers had the complex and they wanted to use it up. It was closed for a period of 2 to 3 years for various reasons. Basically, it was a different property and my task was to see how I can rejuvenate it. And department store became a possibility after 1-2 years. Initially, it was just how to rejuvenate the property.
right.
Just put shop on the ground. We kept seeing opportunity and kept growing things. And
Right.
ended up into whatever it is today.
No, it is. In a way, Shoppers Stop was a revolution of sorts, right? It brought in the concept of a departmental store in India.
And if you see the only other so-called modern store run by a professional was Spencer's in Chennai, where Raghu Pillai was involved there. But in the fashion, apparel, multi-category stores, department stores, there was nothing in the country. Nothing in the country of this size and scale with an ambition of making it into a chain. There was an Akbar Ali's, there was a Benzer, there was a Heritage Emporium, there was a Navy, there was a Kids Camp, but none of them with this kind of a thinking and scale. And they were all run by the promoters themselves. The families used to sit there. This is probably one of the very few retail businesses in the world, which is owned by a family and started by a professional.
Interesting.
All businesses around the world in retail always have been started by the family and professionals have come in to manage, but family members have been involved. Whether you look at Walmart or you look at Zara or you look at H&M,
Fact,
all of
at home here also, there are
all.
few.
So only in the last 20 years, and maybe Shoppers Stop paved the way where a lot of promoters felt that they could build businesses through professionals. And I would say Reliance is an example which built business through a professional. And then, of course, now the family is fully involved. But otherwise, if you look at it, this is not the norm around the world. That was one. So right from the leadership to the management, it was very different. The second was that the promoters, although being so involved in business, were not involved in this retail business, which means that they gave the professional a freedom and a full hand to do what he thinks is right, which is again a rarity in a family. Very, and everything else that happened was literally for the first time. There was nothing. The software you had to go out, the technology you have to go out, people you have to go out. You couldn't get people to join because nobody believed that you could have a retail like this. In fact, when I met some people in Mumbai, they said, "You're not a kachi, you're not a retailer, you're not a apparel guy, and your owners are in brick and mortar real estate."
Mm.
Literally, everybody wrote off before even we started because of these factors.
Right.
But that's 32 years back. World has changed.
Well, it's changed a lot. and of course, I will, as we go along, I will obviously quiz you on the kind of changes that you've seen. And I know you started off by saying, I always believed in being customer first. And is that how the concept of a customer care associate became part of everybody's designation in Shopper Stop? That was the primary role. And then obviously you had your administrative designation following that.
You have to remember one thing, that I had no background and experience in fashion and retail. Yeah. Of this size. Because we were new, the 13 people who joined me for the first time to start had zero background in retail or fashion. So we were a bunch of ignorant people who were just passionate to do something. And therefore, everything that we did, either we'd go and seek help from outside or we talk to customers. Literally, I would spend 60% of the time outside the shop than inside the shop. Meeting customers or coming and meeting customers who are going. So for me, my God in this business has been the mentor and teacher has been the customer. That was the belief. Customer care associate happened for a different reason. Two of my best salespeople, that time I used to call them salesmen, not even sales associate, wanted to leave us because they were getting married and the father-in-law said, "I don't want to marry my daughter to a salesman." Typical movie. And when he left, and he left us. And he left for a lower paying job, a worse job, because he was sitting inside an air conditioning store and meeting very rich people. And he decided to go and become a sales executive, running door to door in the Mumbai heat, selling something B2B. But only reason was he was called sales executive. That's the time when we got together as a team and said, "This is serious. What can we do about the designation?" And we looked at lots of designation. But again, there was no job description, there was no job profile. We didn't know anything how to write also. So the key question was, what is it that we are here for? And the two words which came was customer and care. And we said, if it is customer and care, is it? And then I did check up to say, is it the front end associates customer care or is everybody? And everybody across, my CFO that time, CHRO, CMO, everybody said, no, our job is also customer care. And that's how we said, we call all ourselves, we call as customer care associate. So it did two things for us, in fact, three things. One is it suddenly made us accountable to the customer. That was the one shop I used to sit on the fifth floor. My team used to sit on the top floor. The whole store was operational. And all of us used to, even if we had to go for a washroom break or go to lunch, we used to cross the floors. So if you're crossing the floor and a customer says, "Can you help me with this?" You can't say, "No, I am a CFO. I'll get the thing." I'm a customer care associate, so I need to respond. So we actually became very passionate and we became very connected to the customer. That was one. The second thing it did was, because of the unique designation, the whole organization got connected. If I go with my deputy or even go with my last mile person, and when we present our visiting card, both of us will be customer care associate. That actually opened up a lot of doors. That's the third thing that happened. If I was there in competition and I and my competitor pitching for an institutional sales presented a card, they would talk to me first because of two reasons. One is a black and white card, and second is to say, "Please tell us what is this customer care associate." We'll get an opening statement, and it is very beneficial. But the purpose was, and the primary purpose of anybody in retail, not even shoppers, anybody in retail is to take care of your customer, whatever his needs are. And this designation became very appropriate. For whatever reason, arrogance or whatever you call, I registered with designation. And that's the reason why you find that nobody else in the world writes as customer care associate. They always say customer care as executive customer care officer. But this designation has still remained with us. But day zero, when somebody joins, he knows that there is a purpose for which they have joined. And the function is a different.
No, fantastic. And while today people are really realizing it's all about purpose, I think it was nice to have done this many years ago when this was not even a thought or a concept at that time.
So it was, like I said, everything in Shoppers for the first 10, 15 years is all outside, and either the customer would tell us or do you realize something and then we work back. Nothing was a genius of the team. The only genius of the team was we were good and we listened to our customers, we listened to our vendors, we listened to people outside. That's the only thing but probably we did a good job of.
And a brilliant job, I must say. Obviously, when I joined this retail in 2008, obviously we used to always look up and say, find out what they're doing and we'll see how we can copy. And that's how I'm sure must have sown the seeds for your first Citizens Club, which became a revolutionary program at that time.
That's again a big story and a similar story. If you look at it today, we have 9 million customers, 74% business comes from First Citizens, so 4,000 crores. It's a very different program. And what used to happen is I used to stand outside and talk to customers, and most customers were in the catchment because we had a huge parking area, a big shop, air conditions. So half the time people are going to a garden used to come to the store, walk around, and sometimes they just buy a purchase for socks, feeling guilty that they come and spend time, don't buy anything. So I had to keep talking to them. So one day or some customers started saying, "Was every day you ask the same question, कुछ लिया नहीं है, कुछ खरीदा नहीं है, सर क्या problem है, क्या कर सकते हैं?" So I thought, no, this is not going to work. So let me start a lucky dip. So we started a lucky dip where we said you give your name and telephone number and address, and we put it in a box every day. And we will take a draw every day end of the day. Somebody will get a 100 rupee gift voucher. Talking of 1991. It became a big hit. And people used to come and wait on a Sunday when we should take the draw out and take names and all that. And some very even celebrities I know come and stood in the queue to get the 100 rupee gift voucher at that time. So this kept happening, and it was business as usual. My secretary left me, and there's a new secretary who joined. And she came and said that, listen, there is a carton lying in your wardrobe and which has lots of small papers. What should I do with it? Shall I throw it or do whatever? So I said, get it here. And I realized these were the chits which we used to take for the draws. There were 40,000 chits.
Wow.
So which means that we have interacted with 40,000 during the first 3 years, 91 to 94 at a person. And we had the name and number and address. So I said, these are my first customers. And we have learned a lot from them, as I didn't even know that there's something called an Excel. So somebody said, no, we'll put it in some form. We took these 40,000 chits and put them together on a database, whatever database we had. And because they were our first customers, again, I don't know what came to us. We said, let's call them as first citizens. We didn't even know that as per the law, you can't call anybody a first citizen other than the President of India. And nobody noticed it. And suddenly one day we realized that we have 1 million, 2 million, and somebody raised the objection in the assembly in Maharashtra, saying, how is it this private company is calling it customers first citizens? So we had to change it to First Citizen Club.
Quite a history.
But again, if you look at it, this was not a brilliance or strategy, or this was just a simple thinking of a retailer to say, Mera customer hai, how can I serve him? And therefore I need to know Jitendra, I need to have his phone number. And it was just simple like that. And then accidentally we found that we had met so many people. And then to say, so throwing the chit, thank God my earlier secretary didn't throw the chit and went away. He came and again we said, let's start. So every journey in the first 10 years in our business has started out of customer response or customer connect. Everything. I don't recollect anything which came out of our brilliance or our ingenuity. It all happened because
that's how they start, right? A simple little idea and somebody takes on it and builds and it becomes something larger.
Also because we did not have too many people, or literally none from either retail or fashion or apparel or a background. Therefore, there was no baggage. And therefore, we didn't know what is impossible. In our language at that point of time, anybody said anything, it was possible. And there are enough stories that have made huge impact.
Right.
Just because we didn't know what was not possible.
Correct. I've also been told a few stories of how some customer bought something in Bombay, but the stock was not there. He was going to Hyderabad. It got delivered to Hyderabad from the Hyderabad store. So
But there was no net, nothing. But people did. People just wanted to deliver. We have delivered gifts when people were moving from one airport, from domestic to international, and things like that we have done, but a lot of kicks. And it was not done because I did it. The small team that we had, the culture that got developed to serve the customer. In fact, one of the instances that comes to my mind as we're talking is about the gentleman who had come from US and he had come to meet me. And then after finishing the meeting, he went across to his hotel. He was staying in somewhere near the airport. And he realized that his shoes sole has come out or something like that. So he called up the store and said, this is what has happened. I had come to meet Mr. Nagesh. Can anybody help? The supervisor said, we'll send somebody. So somebody went to the place and then he took the measurement and all that. And then he came back and then he again went. And after some time, he delivered a shoe. But he took a lot of time, 3, 4, 5 hours to do that. This customer was very impressed and he offered him a cup of tea and he says, you've been moving around. Did you have lunch? He said, no. He says, can I offer you lunch? He said, no, I can't take anything from you. There are values. We don't take what is not ours. There was a value. Then he asked him saying, where did you get the shoe from? Which store? That time we had only one store or two stores. No, we had only one store. So this guy tells him that, no, we didn't have it in our store. So I went to Linking Road. And in Linking Road, there are 3, 4 shops I searched. I found one pair of shoes and I bought it for you. Oh my God. He said, but where did you get the money from? He says, no, I borrowed money and gave it. And now I give it back. And we didn't know about it. So this is an associate or a supervisor who took a call on his own. Now, when I look at it in hindsight, it was just an empowered individual who wanted to just serve the customer. I don't think we have any policy to say, if you don't have it, go and buy from a neighbor competition and buy it off. And we never talked about it. People talk about Nordstrom associates giving tires to customers, but these are stories made up. We have had India, thousands and thousands of stories like this which have happened.
Absolutely. Customer centricity at its best. What more? Yes. Customer centricity at its best.
Customer centricity is bad. And again, what I realized is retail is a business of people. And unless you have people who are empowered and passionate and they are aligned to the purpose, it's very difficult to create a customer centric organization. Because although the world and the consultants will tell you we write an SOP, in my 32 years of hard retail and 42 years of working experience, there is no SOP that can be written for a customer because the customer does not come by telling you what she wants or what he wants or what it is or how behavior. The same Jitendra can come alone and be a different person, come with his wife, be a different person, come with his family and be a different person. What SOP do I read for? Write for Jitendra? I can't write a single with wife, with family. I have to have the ability to serve Jitendra when he comes in the way he comes. And that only happens if your stores are empowered, your managers are empowered, and you hold them accountable for the purpose. Rest of the things automatically happens. But that was the belief. And I also feel that, as you're asking, it was a canvas which is quite open and clean for us. So we kept writing and drawing as we learned.
Fantastic. And a beautiful picture that has been painted.
When I look at it in hindsight, it's a good brand that the teams have been able to create, a brand which has survived, the brand which is still striving, still going ahead, and still commands respect.
Absolutely.
And when you have 105 department stores, you will have challenge. When you have 40, 50 million customers crossing your door, you will always have 1% customers who will be unhappy. But 1% customer is 500,000 customers. So it is not it's no more a place where you can say 100% customers, right? The ability to recover a customer, the ability to respond to a customer complaint, that's important. And
Right.
for that, definitely we have SOPs.
So is that how you would define, is that how you really set the culture or did it set itself?
No, it's a combination of two. One was that I was fortunate that I was inside the store for the first 3 to 4 years, from 91 to 95. So I learned in the store. I walked the talk, and people learn from you more when they observe you than when you teach them. That was one. Second is, like I said, all my senior colleagues were all from non-retail background. And therefore, when they came in with fresh eyes and did things which were very fresh and very different. The third way is that we always took the challenge of the customers. If you look at the first 10 years, the events that we brought into India in the first 10 years from 91 to 2001. Till now, nobody has been able to replicate. And we were a one-store organization. I was serving a customer and he said, he was buying tie and I asked the customer, what do you think about the range? Because Zodiac told me that we still had the largest range of ties in men's in the country, 500, 600 ties. And he said, kya range hai? What is the range? He ridiculed. And I said, what do you want? He said, no, we should have 10,000 ties. So I was shocked. And then when I went back and spoke to retailers, to the brands and said, is there any place in the world where you have 5,000 ties? They said, no. He said, why don't we have a tie festival where we get 5,000 to 10,000 ties under one roof? We emptied a garage and we created a 5,000 square feet area in the garage, enclosed it and bought 10,000 ties and did a tie festival where we sold 10,000 ties. People came from Delhi to Shoppers Stop one day to buy ties. In the process, the customer was asking me, "तुम लोग ये सब क्यों करते हो?" I said, "We have fun. We enjoy doing things like this." So he said, "क्या Guinness में जाना है क्या?" And then suddenly it struck us, because there is an opportunity. So we checked up and Guinness Book of World Record, the longest tie was some 218 or 220 feet. We spoke to Zodiac and together we made a tie of 223 feet and went into Guinness Book of World Record. Fantastic. So did it do anything? It did this. I'm able to talk to you 20 years down. People enjoyed the festival. We did something which nobody ever did. So a lot of these things came out of willing to experiment and have the guts to try something. What happens is as the organization becomes bigger and bigger, you become risk averse because you have to follow your baggage now. So the ability to not have the baggage, the ability to do something which is good for the customer, an ability to believe in yourself and the team, that creates the empowerment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that something that's missing? I'm getting a little controversial here. Is that something?
Yes. It's like 10, 12 years back. I still remember when I met Kishore once, I told him about our exchange festival. We had done a Bebop ka exchange, a Salwar Dupatta exchange.
I'm very much aware of that.
Became such a big thing, such a big thing, such a big thing. I mean, people are fighting with each other to draw the item. We had given at that time 333 rupees off or something like that. Then we did Denim Festival. Then I was one day sitting with Kishore and said, Kishore, Denim Festival kya response aaya? And next Sunday morning, you had the Big Bazaar Exchange Festival with the Raddi ka thing and all. I said, boss, you can't beat Kishore on his thinking. But to me, these are things which as an entrepreneur you do just out of instinct.
Absolutely.
Because there was no target set कि अभी मैं ये रद्दी exchange करूंगा इतना बेचूंगा. No, it was just exciting. Now, if you have to do it, you will know, say, I'm going to spend 20 lakhs. So somebody is going to ask you, you're going to spend 20 lakhs, what will be the ROI?
Correct.
Then say, oh, how much will you sell? How much will be the cash burn? How much? So you don't do these things on that basis. You just do it because. I can relate to something that is happening in TRRAIN. When we started TRRAIN, we were sitting together and saying, what is it that is to be done for the industry? And pride, respect, inclusion, and development as the four words we picked up. And we said, let's celebrate Retail Employees Day on the 12th of December. There was nothing like that. And we just started off. And last year, December, we had 31 countries, some 20 million people celebrating.
Fantastic.
It was just an instinct that they were going to do it. And we had no receipts. It's a not-for-profit NGO, nothing. We went and met people, spoke to people. But then it caught on like a fire because people saw there's a huge genuineness in what we're doing. And it makes a difference to the employees.
I'm so glad because especially it was nice because we used to sit always is what is called the back end. But something for the front, people who are at the front, who are right on the floor, it's how can I put it? Very thankless at times.
And when you know what, the strange thing in this business is that the day when the world celebrates is the day when you are the most stressed. When everybody is preparing for Diwali, you are behind the counter or in the stock room trying to sell.
Correct.
Every day. And therefore, the whole objective was, can we make the 12th December as Diwali, Christmas for the retail industry? It's reached a very good size and scale. So what I'm saying is, when you look back, a lot of things which were done were all about experience. And don't forget, the first logo of ours, our byline was Shopper Stop, the ultimate shopping experience. After 3 years, when we were doing research, the customer started talking of saying, oh, we had great experience. We changed it to Shopper Stop, feel the experience while you shop. So look at today also, you read any article, read any practitioner talking about it, whether online, offline, omni, they keep saying we have to create an experience.
Correct.
So honestly, in 30 years, 40 years, nothing has changed.
Yeah.
But the question is that all the experiences we created, sans email, sans distance, sans social media, was very human experiences. You could have fun, you could enjoy, you could do things. Today, you're not able to create the same experience because you're not looking at it from a human point of view. I don't know whether you read that article yesterday, which is talking about how online and Mintra and others had a serious challenge on sales last year. On the other hand, the Zudios of the world have a rocking business.
Yes.
Why? Because the customer wants an experience. Customer wants to meet people. And especially in countries like ours, where we don't have too many things of entertainment. Shopping is an entertainment by the way shopping is conducted. Going into a mall which is air conditioned in an experience where half the country is not having air conditioned. I still remember Kishore saying that people either go to temple or go to shopping. So that's what it is.
So was that your starting point for Train to say, hey, how do I carry out all this learning of 18, 20 years at Shopper Stop? And
No, my starting point of pain was much ahead. I started playing. When I was 45, one of our associates got burnt.
oh,
While she was cooking at home. So I and my wife, we went to her house and we actually saw the pitiable condition which she and the family were living. And she had a baby of maybe 1 year or 2 years. And I was speaking to the husband. He was also working, but he said, in fact, very difficult to raise the child without a second partner or without a partner having the earn. And I realized that as businesses, we are growing, people in the back office salaries are going up. But for whatever reason, we have not been able to impact and improve the lives of the front end. So that was for me the trigger. I was 45 at that point. And also I was quite influenced by my father, where as a personal philosophy, I had taken a call that I call it as 25 years of learning, 25 years of earning, and 25 years of return. And at the age of 50, I'll step out of all for-profit work or commercial work. So these two combined, and that is when I thought if I have to do something, let me do in retail because it's the only industry I know so well. And this is the industry where I have network. And this is the industry which requires something like this with 46, 50 million people working. And this is also the industry where anybody who has not been able to pass 10th or 12th can actually come and take up a job here and still grow. I was talking to somebody who's a store manager in Varanasi. And then he said, 14 years back, I joined as a customer care associate in store and today store manager. You don't require to be an MBA to become a store manager. You can start it from wherever and become there. So these are some of the triggers. Working on pride, respect, inclusion, and development was out of research. When we captured these 4 words, where they said हम तो society respect ले काम करते हैं, society हमको अपना नहीं मानती, inclusion. पढ़े लिखे नहीं, कोई पढ़ाता ही नहीं, आगे कैसे बढ़ेंगे development. So we just picked these 4 words, and for each word we started off with a project. It's 11 years, and fortunately for us, each project has taken off good shape and has done well within the means and the resources that I and my team.
interesting. Excellent ethos. And very philosophical also. And now, obviously, you must be collaborating with different stakeholders to ensure that this message gets carried.
Yeah, so it's not been an easy journey. Firstly, because these are all personal resources. The second is because the industry has never looked at the front end associates as part of the teams which can really contribute. We have actually seen because the attrition is so high. The attrition is high because the salary is so low. The salary is low because they are not even adjusted for inflation. When I started this, I looked at 20 years of journey of the people who started with me, 13 of them, the 2 of them who are still associates. And the 11 of us, I became the CEO, somebody became CFO, somebody. So all our compensations went 20x, 30x, 40x, 50x in the 20 years of that. I looked at it. But these 2 associates, the salaries did not grow even by inflation. The salaries grew by some 6.5%. Inflation was 7 odd percent. That time they were 20s. Now they're 40s and with their kids. So their actually life has gone behind. Whereas if you look at all of us, our life has gone far ahead. And in retail, the back office salaries have gone out of whack. But front is still in minimum wages. So that's where I thought that if there is something that we can do, let me attempt to do it. And that's what made me start TRRAIN. And honestly, if you ask me, have I moved the needle? Maybe 1%. If I work for the next 25 years of my life, will I move the needle? Maybe 2 or more percent. It's a huge industry. It cannot be done on our own. When we started our punk program, inclusion persons with disability, there were only 3 or 4 companies who were taking such people. So at this time, when on the one side, we are trying to skill them and get them jobs, other side, we have to prepare the industry. Today, there are 500 companies from Reliance Retail to Vishal Megamart to Lifestyle, Landmark, Max, Shoppers. All of them are taking persons with disability. So the journey has been not only on that side, journey has been also to make retail more a DEI. And I feel so happy that From that point of view, I've succeeded, although nobody talks about it. But if you go back and look at the journey of the last 10, 11 years of retail industry, from being inclusive towards persons with disability versus today, we have skilled 30,000 people in the last 10 years. The others who must have skilled much more. So put together, the industry must have taken 30, 40,000 people. Fantastic. So to me, that is the journey. And again, if you look at it, both me and Amisha, my co-founder, who's the CEO of TRRAIN, both of us had never run a not-for-profit. We had no clue of what we are getting on to. She started a career as a sales girl in Shoppers in 1992 when we started our women's section. And she did extremely well and she's grown in her life. And her last assignment was a director of non-food in Tesco International. Okay. And then she jumped and said, yes, and I want to join you. We started this almost together. Again, to me, one of the things is, I always say that if you can get into anything and are able to wash out your memory and baggage, you can do a lot of good things. It's the memory that screws up the whole, because you use your memory and you start imagining things and you forget the reality. And this happened to me also. Whenever I try to be smart by saying, oh, I did this, I know it, and try to do it, I screwed up. That is very critical. And that's why you find that many startups done by youngsters become successful because they have no baggage. They just have money and they just go. They're passionate about what they're doing and they do it.
That whole thing of leaving aside your baggage and leaving aside what happened in the past, why bring it even, why look in the rearview mirror when you're driving? Might as well drive forward and see where you go. Is that your vision? And what would your vision for TRRAIN?
The North Star is too large. And honestly, we have put a North Star, but we don't even know how to do it. We are working on it. See, I believe that if you have to literally bring in a shift, a permanent shift, the industry has to have up to 5% people in terms of persons with disability. You have to make them inclusive towards this. If you have to make it inclusive towards women, because we also run a women program, it has to be a 50-55% women. On the front end, many organizations it has become, but our average is still 22%. In the back end, it is 35% at mid level, but not even 10% at the higher. For both ways, the industry has to work and go forward. And there's a lot of work to do. On the disability thing, we have said that in the next 10 years, can we really impact 1 million people? We have impacted 30,000 in the last 10 years. It's a nice North Star. It's a nice number to put. But honestly, if you ask me today, do I know how to do it? I don't know. But we are attempting. And I'm sure we will crack something to see how we will not do it alone. I'm sure there are other partners or NGOs. All of us have to get together. But he will be a Sutradhar and we will join hands, or we will be the Sutradhar and somebody will join. But to me, that's in terms of impact and inclusion we want to create. The pride is happening. People have taken up. Respect is happening. Taken up. We are running another project, which is a startup, which is just 2 years old. And that we are doing for the development part. The fourth word that I use is called Kirana Friends, where we are actually creating various products and methods and methodology to see how Kiranas can be transformed. We have seen good early success. 70 or 1,000 Kiranas have come and gone. 20,000 Kiranas are on the app. We have done 10, 11 transformations and we are seeing some good traction. But this is like a game-changing national exercise, which may take us 10, 15 years. So we are working on that. So everything that we do is around development. Everything that we do is something that has not been done. Because our mission statement itself says that we have to be thought leaders and a catalyst. So anything that we do is not something which has been done. And we have to be catalyst because we don't have the resources. So whatever we do has to be such that somewhere somebody sees this as a mainstream and joins hand and takes it on. What happened to retail employees? The 31 countries are not gone to even 30 countries to just got on. Yeah. What is happening across the world? Correct. So to me, that is a critical part of what we are doing and what we are attempting.
And I'm sure you will do it given your gumption that you show and the kind of.
Sometimes the foolish, like I said, now that we Indians are fabulous in adding zeros. Honestly, our internal target was 100,000. This year we'll do about 10,000. I said, when you talk to, and I was talking to some international foundation people where I'm a part of it, and there it is difficult to say 100,000. 1 million. So now you're saying, man, we don't know. We don't have, neither we have the resource nor we have the method. But I'm sure that individually or collectively will practice.
It will. Knowing you and from what I've heard in the last half an hour, 40 minutes or so, every possibility that will be achieved. And this brings us to a very interesting point, leadership, especially in retail. We hear of leadership from different industries. But somewhere retail, that seems to just get missed out. It also could relate to something that you mentioned earlier, where retail mostly run by families with professionals taking a back seat or very few actually letting professionals run. So leadership in retail, what is your take? How you think one should approach it, especially in the current?
Leadership in retail requires two parts of skill sets or attributes or attitude or whatever you call it. You have to be a professional at the back end and entrepreneurial at the front end. For example, on the front end retail, you have to be a trader. At the back end in retail, you have to be an absolutely process and well, the discipline at the back end is very important. But on the front end, it is not discipline. It is passion, it is customer centricity. To have this one thing within the same person or develop is not easy. Because in the last 10, 15 years, because of technology, a lot of us have gone away from customers. A lot of us. Party of having a 5-day week at the back end. But look at it, 50% of the business happens between 5 and 10. Other 50% of business happens on Saturdays. The head office doesn't work between 5 and 10 on Saturdays.
Correct.
All your assumptions are based on research and data that you see, which is a postmortem. You reflect last week data on a Monday morning meeting and you take calls. And if you want to do and discover something, you call a Margos, MRB and ask them to do a research. Yourself don't go. In many of these, we used to walk the street. I still remember, I keep quoting Kishore because he's been a great influencer in many ways. Where he said Big Bazaar was because he went and met Sharana Bhavan in Chennai. But you walk the street. Many times you would say, I went to Banaras in Kashi to look at crowd management, whatever. But you walk the street. So to me, we are getting a lot of data in the modern world. We get a lot of information, but the insights are machine-led insights. Where the important is for a retail leader to have an insight, which is a heart-to-heart and mind. So if you ask me leadership in retail, first of all, you have to have a people mindset because you're serving a customer and you're serving a customer through a set of team members. A lot of people say, oh, but online mein kya hai? Don't forget, online mein also there's a delivery boy who's going and delivering the package. From the days the online started to the day to day, the quality of delivery boy, both in terms of look, feel, in terms of training, in terms of, has deteriorated to an extremely great extent. Whereas in a shop, the quality of people is improving. The uniform, the look and feel and everything is going up. So what's happening to your brand? Your brand is getting lost much ahead. For example, you're selling something, but it goes inside an Amazon box. So if I buy a shirt, I don't say about a Louis Philippe shirt. I say about it from Amazon. So that and somebody who's coming wearing a delivery shirt. It is so for us. The important thing is what kind of a brand we be able to build if you're going to be online, and how do you build relationship with the customers if you're only online? Yes, today relationship has become very different because but in transaction relationship you don't build friends. So to me, the leader has to have the left and right brain.
A lot of it is now becoming transaction because at least in the store, one would interact with people. Yeah, today interacting with technology. So you don't even know.
Also, this is a business where you have to have the ability to let go and empower the front end. And I learned this lesson very early. Earlier in the first 3-4 years, any exchange customer, the thing used to come to me. And I used to go down and look at what exchange. And I was actually a shop manager, called a general manager, whatever. But then I realized that 90% of that, I just gave them an exchange. So which means I had no ability to judge the customer whether it's true or not. Then we said, no, you take a call. The supervisor take a call. Then now, 3-4 years down the line of a business, we said anything to do with a customer, the full authority ends at the store manager. He can take any call. It made such a big difference because you know the customer behavior. If they're not happy, they say, "Abhi manager ko बुलाओगे, manager बोलेगा नहीं, मुझे head office से बात करना है." That is a very important part because this business is so powerful. Leaders don't like to let go.
Yeah.
So if you don't let go, you can't empower. Same thing happened with our vendors many years back. I mean, we started a vendor portal 20 years back. Or we were doing this partnership of Progress Meet 20 years back. And I realized that vendors are begging our buyers and merchandisers to give them the sales figure. So the merchandisers and buyers and our finance team, they become so powerful because check मांगना है तो check लेना तो सामने आके बैठो 2 घंटा बैठो to get your numbers you asked for. And then we created a vendor portal and said all these things will be there on the portal. When the check is ready, you don't even have to come. Send a driver to the reception. The checks will be kept ready. And it will be a 24/7 portal. So suddenly things changed. Because that guy will come for a meeting at 9:30 and talk to the buyer and say, "Itna stock hai, itna big gaya, itna reh gaya, abhi purchase order do." Suddenly, the power of information went away from the hand of the powerful. To me, these are things which actually make a difference and empower. And in today's world, also, we have to do this. See, today's world, you want to do SOPs or internal audit, so you want to give access control. But to me, the access control you can give, but until you train the people to convert the data into information and insight, you can't get anything out of it. Data to सबके पास में, information भी सबके साथ में.
Correct.
Okay. Now I'm saying the fourth thing. A lot of companies are able to provide an insight, but we are not trained or not trained people how to take action on the insight. If you don't take action, you don't find results. So that is the world. So if you ask me, are people, there's a huge opportunity for us to upgrade our people, train our people, and create programs where we can really make our young people the stars of the day. So a lot of things have changed in the country, but in terms of talent pool, still there's a long way to go.
And I bring this a little later, but I'm just touching upon the point of technology when you said, so what is the impact of technology in retail today? And what should retailers do to adapt?
No, today though it is, you can't even just say impact of technology. It is part of your bones, skeletal system, and part of your muscular system and your beating heart. Today, a retailer cannot run even a single store without technology. Basically, because the customers interacting only through technology. So you cannot be not without technology. Number one. Number two is in our times, customers to shop between 11 and 8. And we used to open our store between 10:30 to 8. Today, customers are shopping 24/7. So when they want to shop, if you are sleeping, you cannot get a business. So there's a huge change that's happened there. And second is you look at it, more and more experience are being driven by the tool in the hands of the customer, which is their mobile. Right. For example, if you look at it, UPI has become such a big thing in this country. Digital payment has become such a big thing in this country. If you cannot take on digital payment, how will you do? If you're not Omni, the customer will say, I saw this on your site, it is at 10 rupees lower. I saw it this year, it's 20 rupees lower. You have no option then to adopt technology and deep technology, depending on the size and scale of the business, because the customer is much more aware than you. And in all the cases, the customer is 100 times more aware than your sales associate. The customer आपके दुकान में आपके सामने, he opens his tab and he checks on the Google. But your policy does not allow the sales associate to open his mobile and see Google because we think that वो कुछ और देख रहा हो. The handicap that we create for associates is the biggest challenge for the customer. So we have this, there's a long way to go there. And that's where I when I looked at what Apple has done in the country when they opened their first store, I thought it's so much of learning. I'm told the kids were actually selling Apple in the store, which otherwise we would call as customer care associates or sales associates. Actually, techies and graduates and engineers are being paid huge amounts of salary. Why can't we think at the end of the day, we also do 5,000 crores? Why can't we think like that? We're not able to think like that.
And again, maybe touching a little sore point there, or if I can say, maybe becoming a little controversial. Why can't we do that? Why don't retailers or brands today want to do that?
Yes, one, the why is because you think that's there are large numbers you can save cost there. The second is that the HR is not looking at making that a real lucrative role. I'll give you an example. Many years back, I was in a conference and as part of the board of IGDS. I was listening to some CEO of a store in Canada. And he was telling about how his person shopper salary last year, including commission, was more than his salary. I was actually shocked. I realized that you look at the customer care associate or salesperson as somebody who can deliver much more. 6-7 years back, we started a person shopper scheme in shoppers, where 12% of our business comes out of person shoppers. And our personal shoppers earn double the compensation of an associate.
Very nice.
And their longevity is higher, retention is better, and their attrition is lower. Now, is it that we are paying them a fixed compensation? No, we know that they contribute much more. So if you look at it as a percentage, it is still lower. Or
Yeah.
there's one more thing happened 20 years back, which again was a shocker for me. So when I was negotiating with the Estee Lauder to get Mac into the country, we agreed on everything. On one part, we had a big difference. They said you have to pay the same salary that we pay our associates or beauty artists in Dubai. Well, that was 2.5 times the salary that we pay in India. And they just didn't budge. But they said you can be rest assured that the percentage of employment cost is lower than your shopper store. Became true. The max sales per square feet is 2.5 times the sales of shampoo store. Now, we are not able to think like that. We're not able to think like that. We are not nurturing people like that. Again, there was this program we started called Kangaroo, baby kangaroos. For that, we started a graduate training program. The graduate training program, we used to have an all India competition. There are 2,000 people who would apply for that. We take 25 people that time. It takes a lot of effort going to schools, booking schools, finding invigilators. That time it was all printed papers, then checking up the answers, doing a group discussion. Shoes. We had only 5 stores that time. But those graduate trainees, some of them were CEOs of companies in this country. Our first batch of management trainee, Rahul Mira is a CEO, Rajiv Nair is a CEO, Hemant is a CEO. All of them were CEOs in the company. But 20 years, 25 years, they have built themselves. Those said, no, it's all become fix it. Somebody has a 65% attrition and we think we'll get some. We put people without training. We don't value training. I can give you one more example. Sometimes it may look harsh. A person with disability, we train them for 45 days. Okay. And a girl, we train them for 30 days. And they go into retail job. They get the same salary per person who you pick up from the street. And in 2 days, you put them on the floor. So these kids come and ask, sir, please, pata nahi hai," he comes into the floor. But this is where the challenge is. The moment you start with, on the other hand, if you have an attrition in the head office of a guy who's got a crore salary, you will spend a 10 lakhs and a 20% increase to hold him back. So somewhere for us, the realization of what is the role of the front end is going off because we think omni. And online, you don't require. I'm a believer of omni, but I'm not a believer of saying you can run retail sans.
Retail is all about people, the people's business, very people intensive.
People intensive. But as long as our heart ticks as consumers, we'll always want to talk to somebody. It's very critical. And if you look at it online, all the mechanisms to talk to a person is our grievance-led mechanism. So I don't talk to an online customer to make him happy and talk about his shopping. I talk to him when he's unhappy because he'll call the call center. So look at the psychological way that you look at it. You will talk to a customer to invite him, make the customer happy. Now in this system, we are talking to the customer not to make them happy. That the screen is doing it. मैं happy हो तो आप फिर वो CRM के through मेरे पास आओगे तो मैं बात. I'm not against any of these modern techniques. I just feel that there has to be a human approach and a heart-backed approach in the modern techniques.
Super. And with that, I just want to ask you your advice for aspiring retail professionals.
First of all, if you are not willing to do hard work, don't get into it. When I say hard work, I'm not saying 8 hours. I'm saying where you have the ability to stand in the store for 8 hours. That's the only way for you to. And that's number one. Number two is if you don't love interacting with the customers, don't get into this. Third is if you don't have the guts to see failure within 24 hours, don't get into the business. Because in any other business, you do anything, it takes you between 4 weeks to 12 weeks to get the results.
Correct.
You launch a product, by the time it is sold in Nasik and you get the feedback is done well, not done well, it's 8 weeks down the line. Here you put the product in the night, next day morning, you open the door 10 o'clock, 10:15, results are declared. You don't require appraisals in this business. The customer appraises you. The customer and the competitor appraises you at the same time when you open the door. So you should have the guts and the ability to face this. And the last is if you yourself are not excited about this, you can't excite your customer. You have to be really excited about it.
And
A missed sale is an excitement and a gained sale is an excitement.
so very critical because your front end staff, the moment they are happy, obviously the customer becomes happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not easy. It's nice to come on a podcast and talk all this. It's not easy when you have to do it on the floor. It's not easy. It requires a lot of hard work, a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy, and the belief in the front end team.
With that, your thoughts on the future of retail in India?
We are sitting at the cusp. I probably would look at retail from 3 or 4 cuts. If you look at it from a consumption point of view, India will continue to. And this will be the fastest growing country on consumption in the next 20 years. There's no doubt. Will the consumption happen online or offline? Online will play a very important. I would say maybe up to 15, 20, 25% online will play. After that, I see a struggle because if you look at this, the way our societies are structured, the current cities, to open a modern store near your customer is very difficult because there's no space. So this will always be served by a small store. Correct. I'm saying even if you do online omni, the small stores will become your partners and link in servicing the customer.
Right.
So smaller stores will not go away from the business, but they will all change and they will modernize. From a customer point of view, I see 3 sets of customers and I see the biggest opportunities in the 50 plus customers, which currently nobody's at. 50 plus customers are nobody's target. But in India, they're the only people who have money,
Mm.
the only people who have become younger and fitter,
Mm.
and they're the only people who are adopting to Western mindset. And they are the only people who have no liabilities because their children have started earning and they're not taking money from them. The disposable income in the hands of 50 plus is very, even in the poor or in the middle class or the high. So that's one. Post COVID, Indians are looking at spending more than saving. So that's the second part that is. Then if you look at the 15 to 18 or 15 to 25, this again is a set of customers who are behaving very different. They are not consuming as much as you believe that you want to sell to them. Their consumption has moved into non-material, non-fashion, travel, tourism, hardware, software, other things, but not necessarily into material. So there, it's a different set of customers. You have to deal with them differently, and they are more omni. So if you look at online becoming 20%, then maybe they will shop 40% or 50% online. So there are different set of customers that we'll deal. It's the middle, which is the 25 to 45, who everybody is targeting. And that, if you look at on a per capita income basis, it sees 30, 35 million households. So India may, you will find that people who are able to target these people will continue to grow in the next 10, 20 years. Or people have to go to bottom of the pyramid and create businesses.
Right.
It's not an easy thing because at 2,200 per capita income, you also have on one side the months, another side somebody who wants $100 a month. At 2,200, $150 a month, you can't survive in this country. So their consumption will be very basic. 30, 40, 50, 80 ST is what they will consume. So
Right.
that's the way I see, but it's a globally positive. The other thing that's happening is India is getting highly polarized in terms of the supply and the business side. So the middle people who are not modernized, who are not transformed, or who do not respect talent and get the best of talent, not exist.
Mm. Interesting.
You find that India has a lot of 20, 30, 40, 50 crore businesses.
Quite a few of them, actually.
A lot of 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 crore businesses. But all these 5, 20,000 businesses are sitting in 4, 5 groups. So if you look at the others who are coming up, for example, even Honasa, which is a 1,600 crore group, it's $200 million. $200 million for a size service rate is nothing.
Mm.
But for them to go from 1,600 to 5,000 crores, it's not an easy game. And you're not having too many people there. And the last thing is that retail is very capital intensive, whether it is online or offline. And capital is not available for all.
Mm.
Capital is available for a few. So there also you're getting polarized.
Right.
So polarization is not a good thing for the country and it will have its own negative impact.
So thank you so much. Absolutely wonderful conversation. Fantastic insights.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Take care.
So to our listeners, I hope you've had a fantastic experience listening to this and gained valuable perspectives from the conversation that I've had with Mr. Nagesh. So stay tuned for more exciting episodes of Let's Talk Retail. I'm your host, Jitannath Patri, signing off. So until next time,